Welcome to the Adulting Demystified podcast with your host, Odelia Goldberg. In each episode, we'll have subject matter experts discuss things that most people don't know, but probably should. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and on our website, ogoldberglaw.com. Now, here's the host of Adulting Demystified, Odelia Goldberg.
Hey there, and hi, Bette. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope your day's going well.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Odelia, for having me on. Excited to be here.
Good. Yeah. So let's take a moment. You know, you and I go way back. So we're good friends, and this is going to be a little bit different than the usual podcast that I do where I talk to, people because it's kind of like just catching up. So I'm going to try to stay on track and not talk about, fun stuff. But so why don't you tell everyone what it is that you do? Give us a little intro into you.
Sure. So I'm Bette Hochberger, CPA, CGMA, and I own a boutique CPA firm. We work primarily with business owners, real estate investors, high net worth individuals, and our areas of specialty are professional services, real estate, crypto, and we dabble in some other stuff. But those are our big ones. And we do a lot of tax strategy, tax planning, all the taxes, and outsource CFO, outsource controller.
Thank you. And as personally, Bette is one of my referral sources. So quite often when, people ask me a question that I'm not in the position to answer specifically about tax issues, I right away refer them to the accountants of the world. And Bette is one of the accountants that I refer quite a bit of clients to. So she's helped us out in quite a few situations. So, personally, I can say that she's a valued resource for me. And as you know, I'm an estate planning attorney. I do estate planning, probate, and real estate law here in Florida. And the reason I put this podcast together is because I find myself telling people constantly, all the time, the will doesn't avoid probate. A trust only controls what you put in there. This is what probate is. This is what a last will is versus a living will. So there's all these different things that in my profession, people constantly either get wrong or don't quite understand. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to get a podcast going with people, subject matter experts, to talk about all these misconceptions and misinformation that's out there. So I guess I'm going to give it to you, Bette, and say, in your tax area, is there something that people constantly get wrong or you wish that they knew?
Constantly get wrong, wish that they knew. Well, it's funny because this is an area where you and I have overlap. Real estate taxes. Oh my God, please stop watching TikTok to get tax advice.
Right. Yes. You deserve someone that knows what they're talking about.
Right. Like if you want to adult, don't use TikTok as a source of truth. Like that's probably your number one. But yeah, real estate taxes are, oh my God, complicated, right? It's relatively easy for people to buy and sell property, right? You don't need any special degrees or license. I mean, if you're brokering it, yeah, you need a license, but anyone could go and buy a property. They can sell a property. They can rent out a property, but the tax treatment varies widely from person to person. So, what your real estate situation is might be different from what my real estate situation is. And our taxes can be night and day different. So when people come to me and they're like, oh, but my friend said that they have, 30 rental properties and they did a cost segregation study on every single one and they got back $1 million on their taxes last year. Why doesn't mine look like that? It's like, well.
Right. You need to look at the whole picture. So when you're talking about property taxes in terms of taxes, you're not really talking about property taxes that we pay every year. You're talking about income tax for the IRS on property income, on rental income or 1031 flips, things like that, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's that kind of a thing.
So how would it differ? Why would it be so different based on?
Different. Why? Okay, so this is my spiel about taxes. You have to think about income like buckets, right? So if you have a W-2, right, it's earned income, it's non-passive income, it's in its own bucket. Real estate by default is passive income. Alex Hochberger.
What's up?
I'm recording. Can you not be in here making noise? Thank you. No situational awareness. Anyway, you might have to cut that part.
Or leave it in. What do I care?
Leave it in. It's funny. Oh my God. Let me back up. We'll talk about different types of income. Okay. Your W-2 income. I would call income as being in buckets. And sometimes the buckets are not even on the same shelf. Different kinds of buckets. So you've got your earned income, like W-2 income. It's earned income. It's non-passive. It's in its own bucket. Real estate taxes income, by default, it's referred to as passive income. Right? That's the assumption from the get-go with the IRS. Your real estate income is passive. Passive is in one bucket, non-passive in a different bucket. Never should the two wash each other, right? Because they're different buckets. But there are exceptions. There's always exceptions, right? So if you're a real estate professional, by the IRS definition, not just self-titled real estate professional, you actually turn that passive real estate income and loss to non-passive, and it could offset W-2 income and other things like that, or business income. There's something that we refer to lovingly in the real estate tax world as the short-term rental loophole, right? That actually lets you take that passive rental income and turn it non-passive and use it to offset other income without being a real estate professional. So there's a lot of very nuanced things. There's a lot of rules, a lot of detail, and you got to get it right. So what I always tell people, find that tax professional before you buy.
Right. That's a good point. And also find a tax professional that knows about real estate taxes, right? Because not every accountant or CPA really specializes in this. Some of them are good at auditing. Some are good at forensic stuff. Some are good at, EIN numbers. So everybody kind of has their own, because sometimes that's hard. I've struggled with that. So I've actually had to find that one person that really knows all about EIN numbers. I could get you an EIN number for a non-US, person, or
it can be a challenge. It's true. It can be a challenge. Yep.
So there definitely are, in law, we have kind of functional silos that mirror what doctors do. Because, if you've got a knee injury, you're not going to go to the eye doctor. And sometimes people don't realize that just because I'm a lawyer, I don't litigate and I don't know anything. Well, I do know about patents, but I don't practice in that area. So there's things that, we kind of get into these groups because it is so nuanced and it's so hard to know everything about everything. But with accounting, it's even more difficult to find that niche person because it's not like you've got family lawyers, you don't kind of market yourself as these types of accounting industries. And I'm curious if you think that that's going to change and people are going to get more specialized and be able to market themselves towards that.
I think the short answer is yes, right? The longer answer is, and this might be splitting hairs for anybody who's not in the accounting field. I have a certified public accountant license, right? Technically, theoretically, I can audit public companies.
Sure.
In reality, nobody wants me to go audit like General Electric because I have no idea how to do it. There's a lot of experience that goes along. Even though I have the license, even though theoretically I could go do it, it really would almost be like a malpractice if I went and audited an actual public company because I have no experience in it, right? So some of it is, what type of accounting do you do? I guess that's another kind of grown-up thing, and an adulting thing is like you have to find somebody who does what you're actually looking for. Because there's plenty of, we do it all. Like you can go to H&R Block and they can try to do your taxes. Then you're going to come to me later when you start getting IRS notices because they did it wrong, right? If they're not experienced in what you need, not to say that they can't get it right, but often they don't. But it's the same thing. CPAs, we don't all do the same thing. I actually, the last firm I worked for, my manager there, he was a specialist in nonprofit tax. And one might think, why do you need to be a specialist in nonprofit tax? They don't make profit. They shouldn't pay taxes. Right. That's not the case. It really isn't. It's not the case.
And you also have to qualify, right? This would be if sometimes you get stuck with a situation where at one point you were considered and now you're not. So definitely you need someone that understands that whole area of law for sure.
It's so complicated. But there's I think a lot of CPAs who are a little bit more modern, like maybe not your such old-fashioned firms, but the more modern firms, like we actually actively market looking for people who are in real estate, who are doing crypto transactions, things like that. We're like, we've developed specialty. We're looking for those people, and they do find us because we do go on TikTok.
So don't get advice from TikTok, but get resources from TikTok.
Get resources, right? I mean, you have to go where the people are. Like, that's part of the problem. Everybody's doing it, but you still have to do a little bit of homework on the back end, like find out like, oh, is this person, do they really know what they're talking about? Or are they just like somebody like yapping online? So
yeah. Absolutely. Well, to collect information and to get information is one thing. To rely on it and to base your entire plan on, a 2-minute video is probably problematic.
It could be.
If I had to guess.
If you had to guess. But, at the same time, I do love when clients are actively trying to manage their tax situation and they come to me and they say, hey, I saw this strategy. Does it apply? Because at least they're involved in the process. People who were like, it's April 14th and they're like, oh my God, why do I owe so much money?
Oh, that would be me.
I know better. No, but they'll come and they'll say like, oh, what can I do? And I'm like, well, nothing now. Right. But during the year that you're earning the money, you can do things. I can't do them necessarily retroactively for last year. But that's why, another bit of adulting is tax strategy and tax planning, because you can do things during the year to actively mitigate your taxes. Right. Hard to do it retroactively.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good points. Yeah. What else do you think you want to tell these humans that, you constantly struggle with, or you feel like would be so helpful if people just knew this one thing?
Oh, one thing I would say, if you're a business owner or you're a real estate investor, if you're anybody that like you have to rely on financial information, get yourself a good bookkeeper or accountant. I almost hate to say bookkeeper, but somebody else to do it for you.
Right.
Unless you're an accountant. But even I don't do my books anymore. Like you have so much more value that you bring to your business doing what it is that you do.
Right.
You're not the janitor, hopefully. You're not the bookkeeper, right? You're not the attorney. Right. Do the thing that you are there to do and let other people handle all that other nonsense, because we do it faster. We do it more correct. And it just takes it off your plate, right? I
think that's an excellent point. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't want to give up that control, because when you do your own books, not only is it time consuming, but at the same time, you know what's going on, right? You see the money coming in, you see the money coming out. If people don't do their own, well, that's true too. That's true too.
They sort of do.
But, if people don't do their own books, is there maybe the pushback is that they feel like they have a sense of loss of control in that regard? Because why wouldn't everybody just give it to someone else to do it? It's got to be a emotional thing.
I think it is emotional. I think it's also maybe people think that they're saving money. Right? Like, oh, I don't want to pay someone else to do it. I could just do it myself, right? Which is like the curse of everything. Like, I'll just do it myself. Of course,
but your time is so valuable. If you're making a widget, make that widget. The time spent, entering in all that stuff is probably taking time away from your widget making.
Yeah, exactly. And I think QuickBooks is deceptive because they have these big green buttons all over QuickBooks. And you're like, oh, but I pushed the green button and then everything seemed fine. It's like, oh no, you ruined it all. But yes, you did push the green button.
And now it's gone forever. Good luck.
That's not necessarily gone, but then you need somebody to come in and fix it. It's like almost like, detective work. Like, what did you intend to do? Because that's not what you actually did. And then we have to put in a bunch of time during tax season. Everyone's stressed out. Now we don't like you as a client because you did it yourself and told me how good you did and you didn't. Now we have to fix it. Yeah.
I'm stressed out already. I don't want you to not like me.
Right. But the funny thing is, I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to clients who are like, oh, I'm working on it. I'm like, can you just give it to me?
Right.
And then sometimes, for select people who I know are okay with seeing the sausage get made, I will sit there and do my thing right in front of them. And they're like, how did you do that so fast? I'm like, because I know what I'm looking for. You don't know what I'm looking for.
That's like me when I review documents. It takes me like 4 minutes. I'm like, okay, this is good. This is good. And they were like, are you actually reading it? I'm like, well, I know a lawyer did this. I could just tell by the format, I could tell by the font that you didn't do it. I could tell by the period. It was done professionally. So
right. But we can tell. We know when I can look at somebody's balance sheet and I'll be like, this is hot garbage. In about 2 seconds, I can tell. And I'm like, how do you know? I'm like, well, your bank account balance is negative, which sometimes it could be, but usually it's not. Right? Things like that. We just know there's things that we know to look for.
Right.
We spot them right away and we know that you screwed it up. So just, don't waste your time. Like, give it to a professional.
That's a good point. I think that, if more people had a bookkeeper, their lives would be easier. It would make their lives easier.
Make my life easier, at least.
Yeah, that's true. You get accurate, because I feel like it's garbage in, garbage out, right?
100%.
So whatever you put into that system is going to be difficult to get like magic out if you don't have things categorized the right way. And if you don't really understand the whole picture of, taxes like payroll taxes, if you screw that up in your QuickBooks, and it's hard to kind of reconcile what you did from a state level too, let alone a federal level.
Yeah. Well, and payroll is one of those extra bad ones, because if you screw up payroll, there can be a person with a gun knocking on your door, because those aren't your funds, right? It's not your money. When
lately I'm hearing so much of that. Like, so many business owners take in the money and then actually don't pay it out or whatever, and they get in real criminal trouble. Usually we think of this as like, just a civil situation with money, but it's a criminal situation.
It's bad. It's bad because you're talking about Social Security funds, things like that. It is not your money. Once it comes out of people's paychecks and payroll is run, do yourself a favor. Like, if you're going to screw around with any taxes, just make sure it's not payroll taxes. Like, that's the worst one to screw around with. I don't particularly love dealing with payroll. Sure. Fixing payroll is especially bad. It's really, really painful. It's awful. But I will tell people, like, you need a payroll service. Like, even clients that we work with on a monthly basis, we don't do it in-house. We can help you run it. Right. You're using a payroll service where all they do is payroll.
Sure.
Payroll. It is their specialty. They're designed for it. They're set up for it. They know what they're doing. Don't trust,
Yeah. Why invent a wheel in your office? That's what you're doing every week when you pay your people. You're inventing a wheel every time. You're like, how do we start with the wheel? Does it have to be a square? Yeah.
It's true. It's true. But that's definitely something that will get you in trouble. I've heard stories especially with restaurants, with the state coming in for sales tax also. Wow. If you're not remitting those, they can come knock on your door and be like, give me everything in the register. I have heard these stories.
Wow.
So you got to be careful,
Yeah. I bet you're like me. You hear it all.
Yes. Oh yeah. We hear it all. We see it all, the good, the bad. We also see, like, people get a lot of IRS letters these days. Like, ever since COVID, the IRS has been permanently behind by like 2 years, right? So they'll send out letters that say, we didn't get your payment. You owe us money. And I have clients frantic, like, oh my God, I paid it. I have the receipt. I have everything. I know it happened. And I'm like, the IRS is behind. Yeah. You would think they'd stop sending these letters, but they send them.
They don't know that they're behind. That's the thing.
They don't care. Like, they must have a budget for like mail. So maybe they don't spend their multi-million-dollar mail budget. Congress will take it away from them in the future. So they're like, just send all the bad
Right.
letters.
Gotcha.
Job security in a way, right? If we send them bad letters, then they're going to call us. So they need us to answer the phone.
Right. So there you go. It's win-win-win.
But I guess that's like another adulting thing. If you do get IRS letters, like you shouldn't really ignore them. Like,
yeah, no, never ignore your IRS letters. Every time I see it, my heart skips a beat. I'm like, please don't contact me. We're good. Even if they call just to let me know we changed your address, or they send a letter to tell me they changed the address. I'm always like, what is it? I don't know.
I think there's like, there's like things people are like public speaking. They're more scared of that than death or whatever. But I think like taxes and like the IRS are also up there on that list. Like,
it's the only thing I'm scared of. I'm not scared. I got big cojones. I don't bring it, bitch, but the IRS is, we're good. We're on friendly terms, whatever they want.
Oh my goodness. Well, and sometimes they're wrong. I mean, that's the thing, like with these letters, but like, you didn't pay. Like, no, I did pay. They have, their systems aren't perfect. They're really, really old, antiquated systems from what I have heard, and they can make mistakes. So sometimes, it's worth it to go through with somebody who knows how to read the letters, read the tax return, and see like, okay, is this right? Are they correct? Am I correct? Who's correct? Because we've seen it many times. We've seen many times where the IRS was wrong. And we're like, nope, we disagree. We disagree for XYZ reason. And they go, okay, you're right.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
That's power.
Yeah.
So I read an article recently about the future of the field of accounting and where it's going, and how there's not that many people, signing up for accounting classes, wanting to major in accounting, taking the CPA exam. Do you see that there's not enough accountants out there?
100 million%. Yes.
Wow.
It's been a problem, I think, for a while. I think we have a pipeline problem, right? Like, it's not really sexy. It's not like the most sexy.
Says who?
That's me.
Have they seen us? Hello.
That's me. And we have like, pretty hot Miami marketing. And I'm still like, not the sexiest profession. Right. We really aren't. But, if you do like math, you like working with numbers, and you don't mind people too much, it can be it can be a good profession. I mean, I like the fact that I have my own company. I mean,
right.
A lot of things in like in mathish fields, you can't work for yourself. Like,
right. Right.
Can you be a standalone economist? I don't know. I mean,
yeah, that would be challenging.
Right. Yeah. It could be challenging, but CPAs, like, there's just such a wide variety of what you can do, and you're valuable. Yeah. Right. And if you don't want to be part of the overhead of a company, like, you can get a job in a private company. You can be the CFO, controller, accountant, whatever, part of the overhead. Right. If you work for a CPA firm, well, now you're part of the production.
Right.
So what we do is very valuable. But there's definitely a lack of people out there. We struggle when we're trying to hire. It's a big struggle. It's really hard. They keep saying like AI is taking over our jobs. It's not happening.
It's not happening. Not anytime soon. And even if so, I think there's a little bit that, that human experience still needs to take place. It really does. I'm not, people talk about AI. I haven't seen the magic yet. I keep looking. I'm like, is this AI? Is it going to be great? Is it going to save my life? Is it going to save me time? But maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I find it
I don't think so. I think it's way overhyped. I think for whatever reason, there's something about going through the training and coming up through accounting. Like, you start as like a little baby accountant, and you like, you do like easy tax returns, and you do like easy bookkeeping and things. And you have to understand, you have to learn the process, right? So to be able to teach the machines, you have to have gone through that already. So, okay, I guess some experienced accountants could do that. But then what happens when those experienced accountants are gone, right? How do the new people coming up know if the machines are right or not?
Right.
Because I have tried to use ChatGPT, if you're allowed to call out brand names, but I've tried to use it for figuring out some accounting things where I'm like, I don't totally know how this works. Help me. And it would give me like unbalanced journal entries and things like that. And I'm like, that's not right. But you have to know that that's not right.
Exactly.
You can't just be like,
100%.
I put it in the AI told me, so it must be correct. It's like,
Yeah,
no.
I had a very specific legal question about homestead creditor protection on a co-op in Miami. So it's very like, who's writing about this? Where is it? It's not in any of my books back there. It wasn't on the internet. So I went to the AI machine and I'm like, maybe you know. And it gave me something that was so, I was like, my intern could have done better than this. It was quite disappointing for me. And, that was something that I actually could have been, had it come through, I would have been a believer. I would have been like, all right, maybe one day there's something here. But it gave me such gobbledygook that I was like, you're an idiot. You are a freaking idiot. How dare you call yourself artificial intelligence?
You know what it's been useful for me for? Writing letters to the IRS.
Oh, okay.
Like, write to the IRS, but you have to be specific. I'm like asking for, penalty relief for reasonable cause, where reasonable cause is XYZ.
Right.
And just like draft the letter so I don't have to word salad it together myself. And you still have to edit it and you still have to fix stuff.
Of course.
But that has worked for me. That worked.
Yeah. I think I use my database of templates as that, because I've got letters that I've just written throughout the years that are in my voice that, so I put in a keyword and my templates kind of give me what I need. But I can see how that would be, kind of a resource. You have to be so specific in the ask. Sometimes it's just better to just do it yourself. By the time you put in all the parameters of what you want, you've already written it. But yeah, I could see how that would be, beneficial.
Yeah.
Well, Bette, thank you so much for this wonderful chat. I'm going to give you just an opportunity to tell people where they could find you, a little plug.
Sure. So because I have such an unusual name, you will find if you search for Bette Hochberger CPA, we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, website, bettehochberger.com. Sign up for the newsletter. And if anybody's got questions, you can always schedule a consultation with my firm. We do free consultations. We'll let you know if we can help you or not, or send you on your way to somebody who can better service you if we can.
Amazing. And I'm so happy you took the time to meet with me and to talk with me and to tell us all a little bit about, stuff we don't know, but probably should. I think, the general idea is to kind of break down these miscommunications that people have about important topics.
I love it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You've been tuning in to the Adulting Demystified podcast with your host, Odelia Goldberg. You should never get legal advice from a podcast. Please don't do anything stupid and ruin it for the rest of us. You deserve to have your own legal advice from a legal professional. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and on our website, ogoldberglaw.com. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.